16 November 2019, a new law was introduced, which is known as the subclass 491. It's a points-based visa where the minimum is 65 points. Pretty much the points that you can claim are exactly as they are for the 189, the 489 and the 190 visa. However, now there's additional points that you can add towards trying to obtain an expression of interest approval. The additional points include if you're single, you can get an extra 10 points. If you are married or in a de facto relationship and your spouse has skills 6 on IELTS and can obtain a positive skills assessment, you can also obtain 10 points. If your spouse only has English levels but no skills, you can claim 5. And if your spouse has no English or no skills, well, it's going to be 0. You can also claim additional points if you have studied Masters by Research or Doctorate for at least 2 academic years in the fields of IT, engineering or science. This has now been increased to 10 points. You can also now obtain state sponsorship, which has gone from 5 points to 15 points. Each state will have what occupations they are looking for, so it is very important that prior to applying for expression of interest, then in actual fact you double check and make sure that the state is still looking for your occupation. If you have family members who are over 18, usually resident in a designated area, and you can double check the postcodes on the immigration website or contact us directly. And this person is also an Australian citizen, an Australian permanent resident or an eligible New Zealand citizen, they can sponsor you and you can still obtain your 15 points. The person that's considered an eligible family member or relative who can sponsor you is your brother or sister, auntie, uncle, grandparent, nieces and nephews, children, or your first cousin, or the step equivalent or adoptive equivalent of auntie, uncle, child, parent. Even though you're the main applicant, and if you don't have any family members living in designated areas who can sponsor you, it's not to say that your spouse can't assist you in meeting this requirement. So if your spouse has any of these family members, you can still claim even though you're the main applicant. The visa conditions that will be attached to the 491 visa is 8515, which means you cannot marry or be in a de facto relationship prior to your entry. So this means that you have to activate your visa and only then can you marry or be in a de facto relationship and potentially join your spouses to your visa. The other visa condition that will be placed on the visa is 8578, which means you must notify the Department of Home Affairs with respect to change of passport or contact details, which include phone number, email, and address. Another visa condition that will be placed on this visa is 8579, which means you must live, work and study in a designated area. 8580 is a very important condition that you must abide by, which basically means at any point immigration can contact you to provide information with respect to proving that you live, work and study in a regional area, which could be letters from your employer or possibly them contacting your employer, proving that you're living in regional, so bank statements, lease agreements, studying as well. Please note that if you at any point cannot prove to immigration that this is the case, you will be facing visa cancellation. So it's in your best interests to abide by the law and to ensure that you do live, work and study in regional area. 8581 is another condition that will be imposed, which basically means that you must attend any interviews or phone calls to speak to immigration with respect to proving that you are working, living and studying in regional area. Please note that once you obtain this visa, even though you may have selected to obtain Victoria State sponsorship, it's not to say that you can't move within designated areas of Australia. It's not as strict as what it was for the 489, where if you're selected in a certain regional area, you have to stay there, or if you're selected by a certain state, you must stay there. The visa is valid for 5 years. However, after 3 years, if you can meet the criteria for the new subclass 191 visa, which is coming out on 16 November 2020, then you will have a pathway for permanent residence after the 3-year period.